The following is a Productions original series.
Hello and welcome to Walk and Roll Live. I'm Doug Vincent, joined by Addie Rich.
Hello.
Our podcast is dedicated to amplifying the voices of the disability community. I am a polio survivor, and you?
And I arrived with cerebral palsy.
Very good. And how was your week?
It was good.
Yeah.
It was, sometimes it feels like same soup, different bowl.
Right. Yeah,
But,
you got your nails done.
Oh, I did. I got my nails did.
Very
and
nice.
I got my toes did. I decided I was going to, Easter it up and do something nice for myself. Sometimes I can't decide, do I want people to touch my feet and leave me alone or what? But I found a really good nail shop. And as you know, like when we're different, my disability is a lot in my feet too.
Yeah.
So when people are like, bend your foot, and I'm like, I can't. I finally found a nail shop where if I call ahead and see if this one girl is working, she totally does not care. And she's actually going to school for physical therapy. So she doesn't bend my foot.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
nice.
so I always call ahead, and if Mia's there, I will go do it. If she's not, I will wait. So.
I thought about doing that once, at least to try it out. But yeah, my feet are. Yeah.
You're like, yeah, nobody look at that.
No, yeah, exactly.
How was your week?
It was good. Busy. Shocked. Are you shocked?
No, I'm not.
No. And it was a busy weekend.
Shocked, people.
There was, I got to 2 events, but there was others that I just couldn't make it to that I would have really liked to. So, but I had a good time. First up was Brew Abilities, which we had been talking about. Yes. It was on our events page, and so made it to that. And we had a good turnout. It was a little bit of a rough start because the rain came through. Wow. It was really raining as they were setting up, and we were at an equestrian center, so it's not all paved, but they had like packed granite. So it wasn't horrible, but there still was the share of mud.
A challenge.
Yeah. But I had the presence of mind to record some of the principals at Anthesis. That's the organization we did it for. So I got the CEO, which is Sean Propakek. And let's hear from her first.
Yeah, it was it was a scary day because it rained from 10 to 12. So a little bit worried about how the day would go, but tremendous turnout. We had over 400 tickets sold, 15 breweries, 3 wineries this time. So up from the wineries, 4 food trucks. A great turnout, a possible board member. So much more interest in our activities. Our participants sold T-shirts and artwork and their own crafts. So I'm excited to see when I count the money tonight how much our participants made for the event. And just another great showing for Brew Abilities and from our community for coming out and supporting us and making another great day, because all the money we raised today is to help for all our summer activities and the fun things we do.
So last thought, we doing it again next year?
Oh, goodness, Doug. I don't know. At 11 a.m., I said, we're done. We're never doing this again. But then I see all the excitement, all the community spirit, and I change my mind. So we'll see. We'll see how I feel in a week or so.
I bet we're going to do it next year.
Yeah, I still am standing by that bet. I feel like we're going to do it again next year. It's a great event. Then also we heard from, he's got a new title. I'll let him introduce himself and tell you what his title is and give his reflections on the day. It's our friend Edgar.
Hi, my name is Edgar Carranza. I am the Director of Operations and Creative Strategy at Anthesis. This is our 4th year doing the Brew Abilities event, and I think we've had a pretty great turnout this year. It was off to a bit of a rocky start with the rain. It's rained more in the first few hours in the morning than it has in all the years prior. But despite a little mud, we have a great turnout, and everybody's having a lot of fun. And I think, it's just growing and growing every year. And I hope that it becomes something that we could all look forward to in the future. Hope you all come back.
Very nice. Yeah, I say a great crowd, but it's a very unique crowd. The kind of people that a brew fest attracts, and they're very knowledgeable about all the different, because it's IPAs and those kinds of things. and they're very, and there's, I learned so much over the years of doing this, you know, what they call, I'm going to forget what the terms are, but, you know, so there's beer that's more clear, and then there's some beer that's more kind of cloudy. There's names for that, and, you know, different people like to try this kind first before they go to that kind, and yeah, it's awesome to listen to.
Clear your palate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
they do a lot of those here with
Yeah.
ciders and cideries because, you know, apple orchards are a big thing in Georgia, especially
right, yeah. So, and the other thing here is some of the breweries that also do the micro beers, they do seltzers, which are
yes, I've had some good
yeah,
seltzers
there's some good
out
ones.
there.
They're like berries and things like that. So yeah.
I've had a lavender lemonade one from I think it's called Sweet Cheeks. It's somewhere in Santa Ana. So good.
So then there's there's David, who's our development director. So I want to hear from him.
Hey, this is David Mix. I work at Anthesis Services based out of Ontario, California. We serve people with developmental disabilities, and community development, inclusion, and workforce development out here today at Brewabilities in Chino Hills, at McCoy Equestrian Center. We have an amazing event. We have about 14 different breweries raising funds for people with developmental disabilities. For our summer programs, primarily, get people out this summer, camping, fishing, having a good time in the community, contributing to our communities. We do tons of volunteer hours every summer. We have three main areas of programming. We have workforce development, social enterprise, and community integration overall. Really check us out next year. Check out this event. Check out Anthesis, anthesis.us. Check out our programs. Be a part of our community.
All right. So we'll be telling you about it next year when we talk about brewabilities. That's all the things that were going on. It's a good time. And then also this weekend, which I couldn't go on Saturday. Thank goodness it was a 2-day event. So I was able to go out on Sunday, is the Triumph Foundation Adaptive Sports Festival. And we got a hold of Andrew Skinner, who's the founder and chairman of the Triumph Foundation. And here is his wrap up.
It's Andrew Skinner from Triumph Foundation. We just wrapped our 12th annual Wheelchair Sports Festival. It was awesome. We're so thankful for the walk and roll audience to be following us, coming to events. We had probably 600 people here this weekend. Everyone had the blast. Got to try 20 different activities. It was rain or shine. People still showed up because we got rain on Saturday. But when you have a disability, you learn to adapt. And that's what we did at the Wheelchair Sports Festival. We adapted sports. We did adapted life. We do it all. And we're just so grateful for everyone's support. And for those that didn't come, you got to make the next one. Check out Triumph's calendar. We have an event almost every weekend. And I know when you're listening here on the Walk and Roll podcast, you will get updated. And we just love you guys. Thank you so much.
They do. They have something probably every week. They're all over Southern California. They have different mixers, but they have a lot of events as well. He was just announcing that they are going to put one together. I believe he said August in San Diego. So if you'd like to go to Adaptive Sports Fair, and this one was just too far away, and you live in the San Diego area, kind of keep looking for that through Triumph Foundation. So yeah, and looking forward to going back there again next year. And it reminds me too, I don't think I've mentioned this yet, that I reluctantly, because you know you start to get overwhelmed with all this stuff, but I did start a Walk and Roll Live TikTok and a Walk and Roll Live Instagram. If you search those, you can see pictures from those events that we put up, and follow us there, and we'll keep you up to date on whatever we're up to. We're always up to something, right?
Yeah. Well, Doug is. I just tag along. No, I'm kidding.
Well, she's planning a trip out here this summer, and I'm going to drag her around to a few things.
Doug is going to not make me stay home.
No.
He's not going to allow it.
No sleeping in. All righty. So thank you to last week's guest, Shane Martinell. What a great episode that was. It must have touched a lot of people. The downloads kind of spiked a little bit on that one, so that was good. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Please, oh please. It will help grow this community. Yeah. And
do it on TikTok and the new Insta and everything, exactly. Right? So tag your friends, tell your parents.
You can be among the first. And and that goes for, you know, as you listen to the show, you see that it's mostly kind of California, Southern, Central, a little bit of Northern California. But we are open to everybody. I've actually sent emails to a number of places. I just randomly searched some cities across the country. And of course,
We'll stalk you.
Well, I figured they'd have some kind of adaptive sports programs in the size of city. One of them was, I meant to ask you if you recognize the name, but one was in Atlanta, Georgia. And I know I did Denver and a few other places, and there was something in every one. And nobody's written me back yet, but I haven't given up. Working on a few good people, some influencers that I follow on Instagram, and you might too. You'll recognize the names, just like Kara that was on a while back. Yeah. So we've got some more coming up. Somebody who is a bit of a dancer in a wheelchair. You might know who I'm talking about. Kind of having conversations to see if we can get them on. Got a good book that's coming out about entrepreneurs who happen to be disabled.
Oh, right.
So it's a whole book about that. So we're gonna have them on sometime soon. So some of the highlights coming up. We've got a couple of guests today. It's Cody Norman and Logan Frye from The Perfect Step. It is a paralysis recovery gym, physical therapy, if you will, but a whole different philosophy. We'll learn all about that right as soon as we hear from our friends at Agyar Professional Training.
At Agyar Professional Training, we know that your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is essential for your business's success and growth. To achieve new heights, it's important to hire intelligent, talented individuals and empower them to excel in their areas of strength and passion. Agyar is committed to transforming your employees into happier, more productive, and fulfilled individuals. When your team thrives, your business prospers. Wise leaders understand that providing team members with opportunities to shine in their strengths unlocks untapped potential. Elevate your team with Agyar Professional Training and witness the growth of your business. From the Agyar Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
Walk and roll live, feel the beat inside. Together we thrive in this dance of life. Hold my hand, let's glide, barriers we defy.
Hello and welcome back to Walk and Roll Live. Let's start with introductions. We've got Cody Norman and Logan Frye from The Perfect Step here to talk with us today. Let's start off with kind of an overview of what you guys do, and then we'll start to do a deep dive.
Yeah, so I'm Logan Frye. I'm from Ontario, California. I started working at Perfect Step back in 2021, so a few years ago. Starting as a paralysis recovery assistant, and then now I am a paralysis recovery specialist full-time. And I work with the internship program here at The Perfect Step, and I work alongside Cody as the co-host of Pathways to Healing.
My name is Cody Norman. I grew up in Northern California, actually, a town called Vacaville. Moved down to Southern California for college, ended up getting an internship at The Perfect Step, which for those who don't know what it is a private paralysis recovery center. So we help any and all forms of paralysis. From majority of our clients are spinal cord injury, but we have cerebral palsy, brain injury, stroke, transverse myelitis, multiple sclerosis, any and all forms of paralysis. And we use an exercise-based recovery method to help in their recovery and try to increase their quality of life. I also help with, obviously, the podcast with Logan, and then I head the research department for the company as well.
You guys wear a lot of hats.
Yeah. The privilege.
Yeah, we're very lucky. Our boss is very nice, and he allows us to try to take on so many different roles. Part of it is obviously us asking for more, but he has a good amount of trust in us to head those endeavors and kind of give us the freedom to take it wherever we see fit.
Awesome. So Logan, let's start with you. Give us a little idea of, what Logan was like growing up, what were your interests and that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Athlete my whole life. I love to be outside. You couldn't keep me inside. Baseball has been my whole life pretty much too. I started when I was about 3 or 4 years old and played all the way through college, actually with Cody at University of Laverne. That's how we knew each other. We met there. And outside of being an athlete though, my mom would say I was a real pain in the butt for sure to her. Speaking of pain in the butts, we kind of talked about that earlier. I was really for sure that person. Always challenging, always asking why, always wanted to know the answers to different questions. And I think that's kind of what brought me to be in this position of what the job that I do now. I just want to figure out the why behind the body, why the body is reacting to a certain thing. I want to know the reason for paralysis and different types of neurological disorders and try to figure that out and see how I can best help people. I think as a kid, I always had that calling of wanting to help people. Always been kind of a people person myself. And I think this led me in that perfect spot because I get to work with people every single day and I'm doing what I love now. So I can't complain about that.
Great. Cody, and kind of the same thing with you. I'm interested to find out like how you guys got together, how you both ended up here, your early interests and how your interests got you here.
I think both of us had a definitive interest in sports. Both of us played baseball. Me, baseball was my identity. It was what I was doing after school. On the weekends, it was everything that I did. I played baseball. If I wasn't playing baseball, I was practicing baseball. If I wasn't practicing baseball, me and a group of buddies were playing wiffle ball on the court and just having fun with it. So I was very invested into baseball. I had the opportunity at a very young age to get involved in the Special Olympics. I have a cousin with CP who was pretty effective, and I got to go and see what that was like and help out and volunteer. And at that kind of instilled this idea of wanting to help people who might not have the ability to help themselves. And then when I was in high school, my mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and it grew this fascination of trying to understand not only the ailments that you can see from a physical appearance, but what's going on internally in the body that you might not be able to see. And it pushed me into the field of kinesiology as well as psychology, and that's what I studied at the University of Laverne. And it pushed me to trying to find internships and doing all that stuff because I thought I wanted to go to school to be a physical therapist. And then I found the perfect step, and it was a light because I realized very quickly that I didn't want to be a PT because I didn't like the hospital setting. I didn't like the having to train for parameters set by insurance or anything like that. When I found the perfect step, there was a lot of freedom associated with what they were doing. The trainers have immense freedom of doing whatever they think is best for that client on any specific day. The only rule we really have is make sure that your client is safe. Other than that, if you think they need to be hung upside down by their feet, you can hang them upside down by their feet. If you think they need to just sit there and breathe heavily all day, whatever it is, we have the freedom as long as we can obviously justify what we're trying to accomplish. But it pushed this freedom narrative, and I've always been a, creative thinker. And when I realized I couldn't do that with physical therapy, but that was an option with this, I immediately knew that this was something I wanted to get in to be able to obviously help people, but kind of the same thing that Logan said of understand the body, why the body reacts the way it does, why certain people have the ability to do some things with a similar diagnosis or injury and some don't. And like I said, with what had happened with my mom, it really pushed the desire to understand what was going on, not only externally with the body with physical abilities, but internally as well.
Really cool. As a person with CP, I have to say, if there weren't people like you, I wouldn't have the life I have. I've had tremendous physical therapists over the years. Obviously, I shared before we started recording that I have cerebral palsy, but I had a dorsal rhizotomy in 1991 in an attempt to reduce the effects of what you see in my CP. And as a result of that, I had to learn to walk again. I was a talking head for a summer and being turned every 2 hours and things like that. And so if there weren't people like you who pushed me, even when I was like, no, I wouldn't be who I am now. And so hats off to you guys. It's exciting to talk to you. I'm sort of jealous that you guys aren't back here in Atlanta. I'd be there. Now being older, I appreciate like all the hard stuff they made me do that I didn't really appreciate then.
I think both of us need to also push and say we are not physical therapists. There is a delineation. They have more schooling than us. We are not doctors of physical therapy. We have a in-house training program that focuses on paralysis recovery. And I know like the term physical therapy doesn't mean it has to be a physical therapist. It's any type of therapy that's physical, but I do want to make sure the audience knows that we are not claiming to be physical therapists. That is not us. We more focus on the exercise realm of things. And the belief is that exercise is good for me. It's good for Logan. It's good for anybody and everybody. And we don't think that that is not the case for people who are constantly living their life in a wheelchair or in a stagnant state. And so we try to use that tool of exercise as a method of recovery because we do believe that exercise is a form of medicine.
And you had mentioned when I was there that there is that ongoing training. So you guys didn't start thinking, I want to be a physical therapist someday necessarily.
I think he did a little more. I originally wanted to be a chiropractor. I didn't really dive into why I became here, but I wanted to be a chiropractor at first. I was even looking to be a strength and conditioning coach, but I had a good friend in high school that got in a car accident and got a spinal cord injury. And then when she was in her inpatient rehab at Costa Clina, I went to go visit her, and I wanted to kind of see what that whole process was like. I was really interested. Like I said, I was already really interested in the body and kinesiology and human science and movement. And I wanted to see like what her recovery journey was like when she was at Costa Clina. So I went to go visit her. A few months later, she got released from Costa Clina and ended up going to the Perfect Step. At that time, it was actually called Project Walk, and it was in Claremont. We're at the Claremont Club. I went to go visit her there. Took her to a few of her sessions. And then from that point on, I thought that it was really cool what they were doing. I thought it was a different approach. Kind of like Cody said, it's not just physical therapy. It is exercise or activity-based therapy. I love the approach of being outside of the wheelchair and trying to reverse the negative effects that the wheelchair may bring to the body. I love the freedom and creativity that we have to be able to do all the things that we can do without some insurance companies being able to hold us back from doing those certain things. However, after that, I went to University of Laverne, and my sophomore year, I had a class called Foundations of Kinesiology. We took a field trip to this now location here. And that's when I started talking to Hal Hargrave a little bit more, who's our president and CEO. He actually was also, funny enough, our broadcaster for the baseball team at University of Laverne too. So all these little, stars aligned within each other, and that helped me to make my decision of, wow, I really do want to work with people with paralysis and help people that I can in this kind of way. Never knew how that was going to be, but using kinesiology and my passion for that and being able to help people move their body in the form of exercise, I think it's wonderful.
It's always
sorry, but
go ahead, Cody.
We're actually in that same exact class together.
Yeah.
At the University of
And didn't know each other at the time.
We knew each other.
We were friends
from
yet,
baseball.
Gotcha.
We weren't like super close yet. It ended up that class kind of was a Kickstarter to our friendship, and ended up the next year, me and him were roommates, and then we were roommates for I think 5 years.
Yeah, 4 years after that.
Even after college.
Brothers from another mother now.
Yeah, exactly.
And now there's no like, oh, hi, how are you? I know you.
Exactly. Telepathic sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, it's interesting, the why that's always there. I think Addie could say the same. We have this why kind of rattling around inside of us sometimes, and then we have an idea of the direction we want to take, but then life's experiences have a way of kind of taking us in different directions. We see that might be a better path, and we take that, and it takes us a lot of times where we end up. And, we still don't know whether there may be a new path that we'll take. But, it sounds like you guys have found a great home there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you tell us maybe about this method that you guys use? Maybe is there a story that sticks out with either one of you or both that where you've accomplished some things that maybe if you had taken that more traditional path, it might not have worked out?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I could think of a couple. A lot of our clients who are newly injured or newly affected. They also go to physical therapy. They also go to occupational therapy. They also go to speech therapy. So I would say a lot of the cases where certain stuff stuck out to us isn't necessarily with those immediate clients. Sometimes you see stuff that's pretty cool with them, but a lot of it is we have a lot of our population who are in the chronic stage of recovery. So once insurance stops covering their physical therapy, occupational therapy, they get released and they get sent back out into the world, and whatever they are able to do at that point, that is, their expectation of how they will live.
Do you find that they regress sometimes?
Oh, for sure. If they're not doing anything, I mean, it's the old, you don't move it, you lose it. that's definitely the case. So there is that regression for people who aren't coming.
Or stagnancy.
Yeah, stagnancy. But there is a lot of cool progression in a lot of those cases who somebody 5-10 years post injury who have been told like, oh, you're not going to be able to do this anymore. Oh, insurance isn't going to cover you doing any more physical therapy because you've hit your plateau. Yeah. And we have seen that is not the case. Anybody and everybody is going to find some benefit from exercise. We have a specialized technique that I would say in focusing on the neurological recovery component. We believe that those ailments are not musculature. If you have a spinal cord injury, that doesn't mean that your bicep is any less strong or more strong than it was the day before your spinal cord injury. There is a nervous system disconnect. And so we, in our methodology, try to retrain that nervous system and try to create function out of the dysfunction in that injured nervous system. And specific things, going back, clients who they were released from physical therapy, occupational therapy, and they now, after coming here for a couple months, they can transfer themselves. We had one of my clients last week. He has been injured for, I think, 6 years and hasn't been doing physical therapy for the last 4. He drove himself to his first session with us, and he had never driven alone before. Stuff like that people who have been told that their lives are in a stagnant state and they're not going to see any more progression or any more increases of independence. And when we see that happen, I think that's one of the coolest parts for me in my experiences. I don't know about you, Logan.
Definitely, yeah. Well said. And to build off that too, what we always like to tell our clients is that we like to bridge the gap between medical and fitness. We like to lie somewhere right in between that, in the middle. The reason why is because a lot of traditional physical therapy settings, not all of them, but most of them, start with above the injury level, right? Wherever our clients already have function, already have movement, they allow them to increase their quality of life and independence starting with that region of their body. However, we start from below the level of injury, and we essentially work from the ground or the feet up. So wherever our clients do not have that function or sensation or movement quite yet, we try to help them to regain that movement. That is only one component of our STEP method. And the STEP method, it's a long acronym, it's going to be a mouthful, but it starts with special techniques and exercises for paralysis. And the main 3 components of that are pretty much what Cody explained, the first one, which is patterned neural activity recruitment. Number 2 is exercise-based therapy. So that's any other exercises that we're doing outside of the wheelchair, whether it be a bicep curl or a shoulder press or anything outside of the table work or of the PNAR or patterned neural activity recruitment. And then our third component is load bearing or weight bearing. And with all of those 3 components, we use our methodology in hopes to having our clients regain that independence, quality of life, movement, and really just attacking their goals and making our program to be individualized and very specific for that one individual and for that one injury or diagnosis.
And I think the last thing that I would kind of contribute to that is not only do we believe that those 3 methods, the PNAR, the neurological style of training, the exercise-based training, and the load bearing, are beneficial for our clients in the recovery, but it's also very beneficial in the regression component of trying to avoid secondary complications that are associated with living in a wheelchair. The pressure sores, the bone density issues, the UTIs, every other thing that you could think of that's going to come from living in a stagnant state of being in a wheelchair. We've found that those components of our methodology help in the reduction or the management of those secondary complications.
And I imagine it's an arc with all of your patients. The needs of a 20-year-old are different than a 40-year-old, than a 60-year-old.
Very much.
Yeah, through the course of their life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think that's what's great too about the individualistic style that we have. It's like we're not going to do the same exercises with, like you said, a 40-year-old or maybe a 60-year-old or a stroke client or a spinal cord injury client that we would do with somebody else. So it is great to have that creativity and that freedom, because we're able to tailor that exercise program on that specific day too. Because just like able-bodied individuals, same with anyone with paralysis, your body's not going to feel the same every day. Yeah. You may wake up with a little more soreness or pain or something of that sort. So we're able to really specify that program on that day, which is really great. That's why the very first question we ask our clients when they come into the building is, how is your body feeling today?
Today, yeah.
We start from there.
There's so many things I want to talk about. First of all, thank you for not confining, quote unquote, people to the wheelchair. Those are terms that you grow up with. You're wheelchair bound, and it's like, no, I can get out of this anytime I want. That kind of thing. And I read a book because I had polio when I was a year old. So later in life, I never really gave it a whole lot of thought. But later in life, with the beauty of the internet, you could just so easily do a lot of research. I started kind of learning and found a book called The Polio Paradox. And I learned so much. And they really did a deep dive in the beginning of that book into the science of how it all is transmitted, how it affects the nerves. And that's something I have to explain to people whenever, they want to know, is that, like you guys were saying, it's not there's nothing wrong with the muscles. It's a neurological disease. And since the message isn't being sent to the muscles, they atrophy, and it was remarkable in learning that, like you were talking about, that rejuvenation of the nerves in the body has this incredible capacity to, and you guys can speak to this better than I can because I'm not a scientist, but most of it I think was going over my head as I'm reading this book. But I got the gist of it, that the good nerves will reach out and find pathways to get to muscles that may otherwise not function. And with polio, there's a period of a couple of years where that can happen. So there was a lot of physical therapy, occupational therapy that was happening when I was young. But, so maybe you can speak to some of that.
Definitely. I mean, what you just said really reminded me of this word, and it's called neuroplasticity. And anybody can actually have neuroplasticity, any able-bodied person. It's just whenever we learn a new skill, the brain is allowing our body to use a nervous system to relearn or to learn a new skill. And that's essentially what we're trying to do. What Cody was talking about, the neurological factor of what we do with our clients. We're using that neuroplasticity in order to try to regain that connection. And all the injuries are different, right? So, I mean, from somebody that had polio like yourself, or a spinal cord injury, or a stroke, or traumatic brain injury, or cerebral palsy, any different of those types of neurological disorders, we know that all of them can gain some form of positive reinforcement or positive benefit from neuroplasticity. So that's essentially a big part of what we do. So it's funny you brought that up, and you hit that right in the head with the hammer right there.
And that's the other thing Addie can tell you, that we talk a lot about having expectations, not only for ourselves, but especially in younger people who their parents tend to not want to, you want to nurture and take care of your child, and you don't want them to have pain. You don't want them to have, be, I don't know. I think they get coddled them. They get coddled a little bit.
Coddlers.
That's the word.
The coddlers versus like, nope, go out there and do it.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of times we do a disservice to our youngsters, that we don't challenge them and try to get them to, see what their limits are.
Failure is so important, not only from the young child developing, but for every single person in day-to-day life. We learn best when we go through an experience of failure. The best way to create a new neurological connection is to have a form of failure that's going to allow you to figure out a new way to accomplish that goal, which will inevitably reboot or build a new neurological connection. So I love that you kind of touched on that. It's so important. And I think that's one of the great parts about the way we train is, like Logan said, it's not cookie cutter and it's very adaptable. And so if we're doing an exercise, if we see that our client is finding a lot of success or it's too easy, we've learned there's so many different ways to create an adaptation that's going to challenge them more, because we understand that if you come in and I tell you to do an hour worth of different exercises and not one time do you fail, you did not gain anything. All of that would probably be considered maintenance. If you're not training to a point of failure, there's not going to be that progression. which I think is so important to people, and not only our clientele, but I think that's true in functional training as well. If you're not getting to that point to where you're either right at the failure point or getting past it, it's probably just going to be maintenance of what you were already able to do. You're not going to see those gains that you're after.
Yeah, I always felt you don't want to go to the physical therapy place and have them handing you a printed, printout that they give to everybody. You want something specific for what your particular set of circumstances are.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
You want to leave with shaky legs, or you didn't do anything.
Yeah,
exactly.
That day.
To build up what Cody said too, like that doesn't mean that we're just telling our clients, we're asking them to do things that we know that they can't do. It's more of like we're helping them to train till failure, but we're still trying to set them up for success in what we do. Right? So we're still trying to see success eventually in the form of progressive overload, wherever that overload is, by weight, by time, by pauses, by eccentric, concentric movements, whatever it may be. We're always trying to look for that progression. And I think that's a great point that you brought up about, hey, if we're not reaching failure sometimes, then are we pushing hard enough? Is there some more left in the tank, or is there maybe some more left in that mental capacity that we can tap into? And I think that's what we do here. We try to find a good way to challenge our clients, but still have them find success in what they're doing to try to increase their hope as well.
But I think that's amazing. That's where you're like banking off of resilience, like that they will be there. They're obviously like so resilient that they've made it to the point to even find you guys. I think that's a theme no matter what affects you, like in community of differently abled, whether you come to it or you were born that way. I think resilience is that little spark that all of us kind of overarch no matter what has been our challenge. It's the ability to like get up and do it.
100% agree. That's something that me and Logan have talked about extensively. One of the reasons why we like this job so much and why we've been, offered other jobs of doing personal training or helping out somebody who's doing personal training. And both of us kind of sit there and we're like, I don't think I could do it, because when we train our clients, we understand how motivated they are and how much it takes to get them there every single session. That, not to like sound rude or anything, but if I hear, an able-bodied person complain about how rough their life is and I'm sitting there trying to train them, it's a lot harder for me after having this experience of, helping the population that we have, because a lot of our population, they don't complain. You don't hear how bad their day is. We have one of my favorite clients who, Logan already knows exactly where I'm going with this. He comes in 2 times a week, I believe, and he is a quadriplegic, cervical level injury. He can move his neck, and that's pretty much it. He has a little bit of arm function now. He's been working really hard. But you go up and you ask him, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm great. Nothing to complain about. It's like, oh, I absolutely have nothing to complain about. If you're
like, I need to go back out of the room and come back in because I was thinking of something to complain about.
For us, working with this population, it changes your perspective on a lot of things. And I think in a way it kind of ruined our ability to have some amount of patience with other populations. But I won't go into depth into that.
So let me ask you this. The methods seem non-traditional. You probably could say that.
Yeah.
The organization seems non-traditional. Do you find that you have clients that are seeking you out because they're looking for non-traditional?
It's a great question. I think yes and no. I think there's some clients that they'll come into their first evaluations or their first tour. So we do tours first. They get to see the whole facility and they get a rundown of what we do here. They get a nice intro video that Juana does a great job of. Juana is our administrative lead. And she goes through the tour and everything, and then they'll come for their first day evaluation. They'll learn more about our facility. And sometimes they don't even know that we're an intense activity-based therapy center. Sometimes they come in, they're like, oh, is this a gym? This looks exactly like a gym. When you come into the building, you see all these machines that you would see at a normal commercial gym. And then we're like, yeah, it is a gym, but we make it adaptive for everybody. And that's where I think it's pretty awesome. And I think sometimes it just falls into some people's laps and they don't realize that's where they're going. And sometimes that's what they're looking for. But sometimes I think people don't even know this is what they're looking for until they come in and do it. And then it's exactly where they feel like they need to be in order to continue that, that exercise and continue their quality of life over time. Like Cody was saying earlier, a lot of our clients, once their insurance runs out or once their insurance stops covering their physical therapy sessions or occupational therapy, so many question marks for them. What's next? Where do I go? What do I do? And that's where we come into good play, I think, is we're that continuum of care, and we see ourselves as always being there forever. Exercise should never be stopped as a thing. I mean, we used to train clients that were 80 to 90 years old that were doing things that some people are in their 20s were doing. So it just goes to show that exercise can be beneficial and a medicine for any individual, no matter who they are. And that's how we see it here at TPS.
Can you maybe talk a little bit about how people find you? Are there doctors giving referrals to you guys? Because it's so different.
Yeah, I would say we've gotten a lot more of that as of recently. We have a close hospital that's pretty big in the trauma field of Casa Colina, which is right down the street, literally a 5-10 minute stroll. And they've started to become more accustomed in sending their clients to us. For a very long time, there was, I think, a false narrative of the fact that we're trying to steal clients out of their programs, and that's simply not the case. We understand that we're not physical therapists, we're not occupational therapists. We are what they can go to when that is no longer an option. And once I think that narrative started to get pushed, and some of the other false narratives of, they tell everybody in the name, the perfect step, they tell everybody they're going to walk again. They provide a sense of false hope. And we don't. We are not telling you that you're going to come here and you're going to walk again. We will not promise a single individual that. We are not going to provide you a sense of false hope. We are going to tell you that we are going to allow you to exercise and continue your recovery in the belief that no matter what the injury or diagnosis is, there is still a life that is worth living. And we do not believe that that is a sense of false hope. We believe that that is a sense of true hope, that every single person, no matter the situation, can find meaning out of their life and out of their circumstance. So yes, we've been getting a lot more from the hospital. Wow, not hotel. The hospital
like
community.
A hotel sometimes, I'm sure.
It does. The hospital community, social media, we've started to get a bigger following. The podcast hopefully going to keep growing and spreading our network, and word of mouth a lot. We have clients who they've been coming for a while and they know other people in the paralysis community, and if their friends aren't coming, then they tell them about us. And just getting them in the door for that initial tour is really, really big. We have a pretty good retention rate once somebody comes in and sees what we actually do for themselves, not listening to the narratives of people who they heard that this was the case or that is the case. If you have heard anything about us, we would love for you to just come by and see for yourself. And if we are what you expected, then it is what it is. But most of the time we think that we're not, and we're something a little bit different than what a lot of people would expect.
Well, that answered my next question. Yeah. So anybody listening to this podcast, they can give you a holler and get a
absolutely. We have clients from all over the nation. As far as Vermont, we've had clients from Germany, Belgium,
South Africa,
all over the country have come, and they'll stay for a period of time. And if you have inquiry desires, you can go to theperfectsub.com and you'll find a link to Be Perfect, which is our nonprofit that can sometimes help with some scholarships, because we understand that it can be pretty expensive to, come all the way across the country or anything like that. So they do a good job about helping our clients be able to come and experience this for themselves.
And Be Perfect is a nonprofit organization that Hal Hargrave, our CEO and founder, started when he got injured about 17 years ago. And that nonprofit is fully volunteer based. Everybody that works for it is fully volunteered. And like Cody said, we do provide scholarships for people that apply. Some people that get accepted for those scholarships, they can get money towards their therapy sessions here at The Perfect Step. They can also get money towards wheelchairs, towards catheters, towards other things. And not only do does our nonprofit cover our clients, but we also cover anybody with paralysis outside of the perfect step as well, if people apply for that scholarship. So it's pretty awesome that we do offer that. And to also build off what Cody said about how people found out about us, I've heard about 2 or 3 people that have said they saw us on a TV commercial. And that was news to me. I didn't even realize we had a TV commercial at that time. I was like, whoa, we're on TV. That's cool.
You're like,
Nice.
wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it was like during the Super Bowl time too. We weren't in a Super Bowl commercial yet, not yet, but it was like during that time when someone was talking about it, I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. So there's definitely
Practice your autograph, boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you are on our resource page on our website, so people can find you there as well. And I know you guys are probably running short on time. You've been generous enough to kind of take your lunch and do this instead, so we appreciate that. But I do have to talk about the podcast. How did you get roped into that?
It wasn't
It's our idea.
Yeah, it was kind of our idea.
Very good.
For me and him, obviously, our main job here is working one-on-one with clients. We see anywhere from 5 to 7 clients every single day, and a common narrative that we continually got was, how come nobody ever told me this? How come nobody ever explained this to me? And a lot of the times it was stuff that was what we thought, because we've been in the field for a fair amount of time now, was very elementary. It was something that we felt should have been explained or expressed, or they should have been able to learn. But we soon realized that the truth in the matter of somebody who goes through a spinal cord injury or has a stroke or a brain injury, you can't get every single piece of information that you need on how your life is different now, because every single facet of your life is going to be different. When you have a spinal cord injury or a traumatic accident occur, the way you sit up, the way you get around, the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you use the restroom, every single component of that is going to be different. And so when the doctors, nurses, your PTs, your OTs, they're continuously giving you information, but there's going to be pieces that fall through the crack. And we tried and looked to see if there was a resource out there for people who are going through those experiences, and there really wasn't. So we initially thought, oh, maybe we'll do like a documentary and try to create a tool where somebody who has a spinal cord injury, they go and they show them this documentary when they're in the hospital, and it provides a lot of pieces of information. But pretty soon we realized, there's so much information, you can't even do that. And so what was the next best thing for us? The next big thing was, well, let's start a podcast of continual education for people who they are going through this experience, and they just want a resource to be able to learn things that maybe other people who have gone through that experience have already learned, so that they don't have to learn it the hard way, in a sense.
Nice thing is you got a library of stuff now, so people can go back to it, and if they want some information about this topic, they can go. Yeah,
we've gotten lucky. We've had people, as close to, I think, a month after a spinal cord injury versus somebody who's been living with it for 20 years. Yeah. And you're going to be able to pick and choose the type of information that you think best suits yourself. Whether it's, we have a couple caregivers who came on, parent-child relationships, pre and post spinal cord injury. We're looking at expanding pretty soon, maybe getting some stroke or brain injury, different clients on. But for the initial parts of it up until now, we've kind of been focused on the spinal cord injury community, but we definitely have hopes and desires to spread that network as well.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you guys taking the time to come and talk with us. Thank you so much. Cody.
We have a question.
Oh, we have our question.
Forget. So we
now this is interesting because we don't get too many opportunities to ask somebody able-bodied. So
right.
Here's our question.
I'm not going to let you forget. So the question is, how long does it take you to put on your pants, socks, and shoes?
Ooh. Maybe like 30 to 45 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what I would have guessed. Logan or Cody?
Yeah, I'd guess anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds. I've never timed it.
Yeah.
Now I'm interesting question. So now you might see us over there trying this. But.
And that's just one of the things that we as able-bodied people, I think, are so grateful for. Those small little things, right? Like those little things that most people don't think about when they think about somebody being paralyzed or think about somebody living their life in a chair. It's a blessing. And I think that's why we love this job so much again is how much it humbled us and showed us that, man, there's so much to be grateful for, and there's not much to complain about. And, this day and age, and things could be a lot worse. And especially when you hear different stories and you talk to different people, like Cody was saying earlier, seeing the mindset and the mental capacity and seeing the emotional intelligence of so many people that we work with, it's been incredible. And we're looking forward to just hearing and seeing more stories. Obviously, in the sense of we would be out of a job if we could. We would love to not have jobs. That would be the best thing ever.
In this field, for sure.
Something to aspire to, though.
In this field, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But if we can impact and change more lives and for the positive and help as many people as we can, I think that's we'll be fulfilling our mission, especially not only as paralysis recovery specialists, but also on this podcast as well, on our podcast, Pathways to Healing.
Nice.
So thank you guys.
Oh, our pleasure. So
Absolutely.
the perfect step is who you're looking for if you're looking for therapy, and Pathways to Healing is the name of the podcast. If you want to check the guys out and see what they've done and see what they got coming up. Well, let's finish on that. Anything on the horizon that you guys are looking forward to that's the next step?
Expansion, hopefully just spreading our network of clients who know about us and who are able to come to our facility and receive what we think is a very good therapy, and hopefully being able to help more people all the way across the country and across the world. I think that's our biggest goal now. Is we're pretty stable here at our facility here in Pomona, California, but we understand that it's not just a Southern California thing. Paralysis affects the entire world, so we want to try to help as many people as possible.
All
right. Well,
we're
from your
rooting
mouth
for you.
to the universe's ears.
Each week on Walk and Roll Live, we share honest and open stories of people living with a disability.
I was excited to show my family just how much better of a skier I got to be. So we went up on December 30th. Then the next morning, I woke up 10 out of 10 pain. Chest, back, head. I slowly lost all feeling from my feet all the way up to my chest, that I was paralyzed, essentially. I didn't understand what was happening. All I knew is that something scary was going on. And
Join us weekly for another powerful episode. Walk and Roll Live, wherever you get your podcasts. Life Limitless. Subscribe now.
So this has been an awesome story because as a kid who was forced into therapy, I can't say forced, but when you're so little, you don't have a choice, right?
You were voluntold.
Voluntold. Well, I was even so little, I didn't even know I was being voluntold. But as I aged, I did know I was being voluntold, right? And definitely having my back surgery and having to do intense rehab to get back to walking. I know how crappy that can feel, but also isolating, right? Because you go to a facility that screams, "Hey, I'm different." So that's something I love about listening with these guys, is that they've created a gym environment, and it seems much more like a different, less clinical, more like, hey, everybody goes to the gym. You just happen to go to this gym. So I love that, and I'm jealous. Boys, bring one to Atlanta.
Yeah, bring one. Well, and so many times when you go to physical therapy, because I've done 3 different places, and in a couple of the places felt like, okay, this is what you do for a bad shoulder. With if you have issues with your shoulder, this is what you do.
Yeah.
But then I got to one, and they took X-rays, and there was a lot of questions and an examination of the shoulder, and I felt like they came up with the treatment for my shoulder.
No, it totally makes sense, right? A unique treatment plan, so it's not just Doug's coming in with polio. Polio gets XYZ, right?
Yeah.
But also I loved because I think that how they talked about the mindset shift of working out is good for everybody, because I think that's kind of the phase of life that I'm in right now. It's I'm trying to walk on my treadmill, I'm trying to ride a bike, do those things. But I had to mentally come to that place of I'm loving myself by working on my body.
Yeah.
And so I love that there's a place to support that. So now they're going to send me on a wild goose hunt over here trying to find
looking for something like that. Well, and that sounds like they align with the Triumph Foundation and everything that their philosophy, is yes, exercise. I think there's some areas with the disabled community. not only just a good idea, it really can enhance your life
necessary
experience. Yeah. But yeah, and it works for everybody, right? Yeah.
For sure. And the more we do these interviews and things, we see how important, well, community is important for anybody. If you don't think that, just think back to COVID.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's one thing that is expanded in sitting in the seat for me is community. Like, not that I hid from the disabled community, but I was just mainstreamed and then pushed into doing that. So the more I sit with these, I'm like, man, I want friends like that.
Yes. Preach, girl. Preach.
Woo!
All righty. Well, next week we've got Alexis Maison, and she tells her story. And, you can't think of anything else, but it's a miracle how she survived.
I know. I've already got the chills.
Yeah. We'll leave you with that tease. And if you're liking what you're hearing here, please subscribe, and share.
We like repeat listeners. And we also like letters and information. And, moms, they like to tell you what they like and don't like. So I appreciate that mom sits through this and gets to know me even better by listening here and likes the banter between us because obviously she's known you as long as I've known you. And it's fun. So I appreciate moms who listen. Mother's Day is coming up anyway. So this is your shout out before Mother's Day.
The pre-shout out. Okay, before we let you go, I do want to mention I'm going to be at Show and Go this weekend in downtown Riverside, big show, car show. They close off the streets, you can cruise, and there's probably at least 1,000 cars there.
Doug will be in his happy place, people.
Yeah. So tell you all about that next week. Any final thoughts from you?
Every week I'm here. This is a privilege to me because of how my mind has expanded. Not that I tried to be the wallflower, but just in life, I was always the different kid in school. I was mainstreamed, but it was like me,
Yeah.
And so just seeing all these people and seeing people just live life with a vim and a vigor and just making it happen and stuff. That's every week. I'm the spoiled one, people.
I think I'm with you there. Absolutely. I'm learning, I knew I would learn, but I'm learning so much more week to week than I ever thought I would. And it's, it's just made it even better than I ever thought it would be. And I thought it would be pretty good, so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Doug's little brainchild turned out to be this tremendous thing. And you all know, and Doug put me on the spot, 2 weeks ago, maybe? I don't know when you were like, you're going to arrange the Zoom reunion thingy dingy.
Oh,
but that's because I talk about it constantly because I can't help it. I'm just so impressed and inspired by getting to spend an hour and a half with these people.
It would be a blast. I mean,
my life is
get
different.
Everybody together. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
All righty. Good enough. We will see you next week. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Doug Vincent, along with Addie Rich from the Agyar Professional Training Studio. Couldn't do it without them either. This has been Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories, Life Limitless.
Walk and roll life.